you guys are getting like the benefit of all the stuff that I've learned over 8-9 years. And had I known some of this stuff earlier on, I might have done things a little bit differently. But
welcome everyone to Wildcats Attack. We are here with David Ju from Pomelo and really excited to be able to launch our podcast series, being able to attack the fashion mogul of Thailand, of Southeast Asia. As we're entering into our Wildcats Attack part, and the first question was around food. These are all questions that come in from our community, so I'm just like saying that we hadn't had a filter on it, but what do you eat for breakfast every day?
Okay, so it depends. I've been not eating breakfast for a while.
Oh,
no. But when I do eat it, I usually like to eat some eggs and a piece of toast or something. Maybe if I planned out the week properly, like I might have like an avocado lying around. So nothing too crazy. Yeah.
Breakfast of champions.
Yeah.
The next question was related because people wanted to know what's the morning routine of heroes. And so what's your morning routine?
So these days I've just been going to bed really early because there's nothing to do and waking up super early. So I usually get up around 6:37. I'll basically like just have like a glass of like juice or something. And then I just pick up my bike and I'll do like a little bike ride. Get back, check my email, and then get the day started. So, yeah, that's pretty much the routine right now.
Well, the next is a very big and important attack because it has a lot to do with effectiveness. Since you are CEO of a fashion empire, this question actually came in from the male audience, which is, for effectiveness, do you go with boxers, briefs, or are you going commando? What is trending in your underwear drawer to inspire our young entrepreneurs? For effectiveness, of course.
I do both boxers and briefs, depending on how I feel that day. So I'm like, you know how like Mark Zuckerberg and like Steve Jobs, they always wear the same things so they don't have to think about it. I kind of enjoy the decision of picking what I have to wear that day.
Are you married? And between love and career, how do you find balance? How do you prioritize your time between personal life and professional life?
I'm not married, but I was in a long-term relationship while I was starting Pomelo and kind of growing the business. And it's really hard, to find that balance.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
The truth is, right, when you're really passionate about building your business and, starting something, whatever that may be, just kind of consume you, especially if you've got a real passion for what you're doing. So it's hard to find that balance, but I think that ultimately, the important thing is you kind of need to think about what are the top 2 or 3 things other than work that you really want to make sure that you can get right. Because the reality is you're not going to be able to get 10 other things right? And so like whether it's relationships or interests or things outside of work, I think it's good to be clear on what the 1 or 2 other things are that you want to invest your time into. And to be quite deliberate about that. So, that's kind of a high-level tip I would give. But to be honest, I think trying to find love during COVID is really, really hard because it's kind of like, what are you going to do? Can't go on a date. You can't really go, meet somebody for dinner or drinks. And I am not like at all good at like DMing people and kind of, doing stuff through. It would be incredibly painful for me to try to do like a first date online. Like I don't even know how I would do that. So, so yeah, I think at least until the COVID lockdowns are done, I'm kind of not making any progress in that department at the moment.
Well, that's okay, because Wildcats girls in the community, now you heard it here first, David Ju is single, and we will work on getting the deets on helping all in the community who's trying to reach out to you and make that a very smooth and seamless process, so that, you know, David, you can make some progress on the important secondary things in your life.
Awesome. I'll take any help I can get, for sure.
People wanted to know, why pomelo? Why not watermelon? Why not another fruit? Why particularly this fruit?
I really think pomelo is like a great fruit. I never had it in the States. So I always, like, to me, it was like a fruit that kind of represented Southeast Asia, you know? And if you looked at all the different like fashion portals or blog shops at the time, like there was a really like super sweet and like cutesy vibe to fashion that was going on at the time. And like pomelo is a little bit tart, not really that sweet, right? It's refreshing, right? It represents Southeast Asia. So we went for it. We thought it was a great name. And of course, there's a long list of amazing companies that have used fruit names such as black. So like I think like to us it was like easy to remember, and it stood for exactly what we wanted it to. So
for those of you who are not on the fashionista side of things, Pomelo is actually an e-commerce fashion platform that's based out of Bangkok and now spreading all throughout Southeast Asia. And they have been opening stores around like the region, and ask any girl who is under the age of 30, this is probably our favorite place to like shop. Just a little bit about Wildcats and about myself. So my name is Melissa. I'm the CEO of Wildcats. We are entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs and helping young people get their businesses up and started. Also helping corporations really find innovative new solutions to get out into market and be able to reach a really amazing young generation of consumers out there. We are so excited to have really great entrepreneurs be able to come on to our show, kicking off with David Ju today, CEO of Pomelo. So David, tell us a little bit about yourself. You have some really interesting background as a Korean American who's born in Germany, really a global citizen. You want to tell us a little bit about your story?
Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here. So I was actually born in Germany. My parents were studying there at the time. And I was there until I was 7, 8 years old, moved to the States, lived in Chicago for a few years. Then the family wanted to move back to Korea, so we lived in Korea for a few years, came back to the States for high school, and then went to college in Massachusetts. And then I spent most of my adult life in the States, in New York. And then I've been in Southeast Asia for the last 10 years.
What kind of inspiration did you have that made you believe that Pomelo would succeed?
I don't know. It's weird, but I never really doubted it. I think because it's almost like what you don't know can't hurt you kind of a situation. So like I can always only see like 3 months ahead, and I'm like, well, the next 3 months look okay. Like I can do that, right? So you're always just kind of like doing the next 3 months. Now, if stepping back and you turn back the clock to day one, and somebody were to tell me, okay, these are all the different things that you have to do to get to where you are, where Pomelo is today, I would have probably been like, oh, that's scary, you know, that seems like really a lot of different things that need to be done and figured out. But the truth is, you know, you just got to take one step at a time. It really is true. I think if you kind of think like, oh, you know, I'm gonna, you know, build an omni-channel fashion platform that's vertically integrated, and we have like all of these different pieces of technology that we have to develop, and you have to hire like, you know, 1,000 people and all of this, I would have been like, oh, that sounds a little hard, you know, like, can we just back it up? But if you just break it down into, okay, you gotta fly to Korea, you know, you have to like buy these like 20 items, and then you have to photo shoot them and put them on a website. and then you got to then you got to pick, pack the orders, and you got to ship it out. Like that seems a lot easier, right? Than you have to build this massive company. So I think it's less inspiration. I think it's more just kind of taking it one day or 1 week at a time. It's if you can imagine what the next 3 months look like, and you feel like you can do it, if you can get those 3 months done, I mean, you're off to a great start, you know.
For Gen Z who are trying to find their purpose in life or feel like they have no purpose, what has been your motivation, and what gets you up in the morning?
I guarantee you, even like Steve Jobs, right? Or like business or technology, like they're going to have days where they don't want to roll out of bed, you know, like I'm pretty sure like, you know, they're going to like, okay, like, you know, I'm not really feeling it today, or I just want to sleep in, or, you know, I wish I could just take the day off. I think in those types of situations, for me, it's a lot about just not wanting to let down my colleagues and my team and my family who supported me and all of that. And so I think it's kind of like at that point, your sense of like duty and responsibility kicks in, right? And kind of like makes you roll out of bed and do all of that. So you just have to figure out, you know, different ways to motivate yourself.
How's that experience been for you to like actually work with a close friend and getting a business started?
I think there are times though when maybe because you know each other so well, like you have unrealistic expectations of each other, but I think the positives completely outweigh the perceived negatives of working with a friend. Having said that, I do think it's important to like find people that you're compatible with in terms of working style. Like I think that is quite important. Like if you have different values or different goals for the business, those are things that are very, very difficult to reconcile, right? Let's say like you want to build a global, you know, tech company with like hundreds of thousands of people, right? And then your friend wants to build like a really cool like tech agency, right? With like 40 people, you know, focusing on lifestyle and only working with selective brands. Like you have two very different visions for where you want to go. So ultimately, like, you know, when you make certain decisions, you're going to be in conflict. So your working styles, your personality, all of that can be different, but you have to have a shared vision for what you're trying to achieve. And when it comes to values, it's the same, right? Like if somebody really, really don't want to take the risk, want to spend as little money as possible, and that's just how they operate when it comes to business versus somebody who's like, okay, let's go big or go home, right? Again, you might have the same vision, but you have such different values when it comes to money that you're going to have some conflict. So it really is important to have the same values and the same vision. I think everything else can be figured out.
Were there sacrifices that you had to make in starting out Pomelo? What kind of challenges were you facing and how did you overcome them?
The experience of starting it, like of building a team, of figuring things out, like there was no sacrifice. Like it was all upside, right? It was all great. It was an amazing experience. Now, while we were building the business though, I had some savings, and you could see like my savings would just like keep going down, right? Because you'd have to buy plane tickets, then you'd have to, you know, book a photo shoot, right? So you would have to hire a photographer and get models, and then you'd have to do editing, you have to create a website. And now I think all of that is actually a lot cheaper, but at the time, you know, like I was like, oh man, this is really hitting me hard, right? We had to like get an office, and then we had to set up a warehouse. We had to pay for some, you know, Facebook ads at the time were really effective. So we were doing a lot of marketing on Facebook. So you kind of see your savings going down, and you know, we were trying to also raise some funding, and you know, going to investors, they would be like, well, you know, I think it's a really interesting market. I remember a lot of the male investors would always say, well, look, I don't really know much about women's fashion, so I'll let my wife or girlfriend try the website, and I'll get back to you after I hear what she says.
What did he say?
And I always thought, like, look, even if you don't know anything about women's fashion, you can kind of learn and figure it out. You don't have to have your significant other do the work for you, right? When it came to crypto or SaaS or any other type of business model, right? I'm sure they're willing to kind of put in the time and figure it out. So I always thought it was, I think they meant it in a funny way. There's some stuff like that that's a bit tougher with fashion, because a lot of investors don't really understand the space very well. So yeah, I mean, there's difficulties, but definitely like the experiences are incredible. So there's that. And then I think the other thing is, of course, like, you know, I had a really good job, right? Like before. And you kind of have to like be willing to give it up, right? Like that steady salary, like knowing where your income is going to come from, right? Like being able to, you know, make your parents proud so that they can tell you their friends that you work at like, you know, XYZ company. I think Asian parents love doing that, right? So then instead, they went from that to, oh, what does your son do? It's like, oh, well, he, you know, sells clothing on the internet, which he buys wholesale from the market, you know, like, so I think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding around what startups are, and I think that's changed a lot though, but there's definitely, you know, things that you have to consider before you make the decision, but nothing major, I would say, in terms of sacrifices.
You know, so, you know, a big question that comes in from our community also, you know, I think you mentioned this like before about, you know, Asian parents and having that really great job with the great titles. And so a lot of our community often, when they're thinking about entrepreneurship or you know, abandoning the, I shouldn't say abandoning, but like, you know, moving out from safe jobs, or even first-time entrepreneurs coming straight out of university, there's a lot of opposition from both parents and loved ones who are just really concerned about the kind of risks that they're taking. And so do you have any advice for people like this who, you know, feel like there's something that they want to go and try out, but are facing a lot of challenges from those who care about them?
Yeah, look, I think ultimately my co-founder and good friend Casey, he always uses this idea of like a one-way door, two-way door concept. And I think with many things in life, like you can give it a shot, and if it doesn't work out, you can always go back to what you were doing before. And I think it's also true for, you know, entrepreneurship, startups, right? Like it's something that like anyone who has a great idea and has a passion can pursue. And I think you learn a lot through it, whether it succeeds or fails. Like you're gonna get a lot out of that experience. You're gonna learn something about being independent, about making your own decisions, which is very different from what you learn in a corporate or more established work environment. Startups, entrepreneurship, it's definitely a two-way door. You can give it a shot. If you know, really like it, you can stay, you can do more of it, but you can always also go back to what, you know, you were doing before. Like, I don't think anybody's ever going to take a look at your resume and be like, oh, you did your own venture. Like, oh, you know, that they're going to say, oh, that's great. It shows initiative. It shows that, you know, you have an interest and passion for technology. And that's oftentimes what, you know, these bigger companies that have been around for a long time are looking for right now. They want energetic, you know, like free thinking people who can bring a different perspective to what they're doing. So I think in many ways, whether it succeeds or fails, it's definitely a plus.
Very real advice. That's really great.
Yeah. Is it too real?
Well, no, what I was going to say is, how do you figure all that out, right, when you're starting out? Like, how do you actually have those conversations, or do you drive, like, questions, or...
To be honest, we did not have any of those conversations. This is all hindsight. So you guys are getting, like, the benefit of all the stuff that I've learned over 8-9 years. And had I known some of this stuff earlier on, I might have done things a little bit differently. But I think that's the whole point of these things, right, that you learn along the way.
How do you start a business? Like, do you have any options or advice, like in that realm?
I think there are a few different ways to do it, but let's say, like, you know, you've got a passion for it. Maybe you're still trying to figure out exactly how you want to execute, or trying to find the right team of people to do it with. All that's okay. You can do it organically. You can also go to like different organizations or VCs or seed funds that have specific programs for folks that want to start new businesses, right? Who want to be entrepreneurs. And oftentimes organizations, they might provide you with capital or with know-how, right? You were talking about master classes that you guys have for your community. And I think having that is also really great. So I've seen so many amazing companies coming out of startup competitions or incubation programs, right? Where they're just trying to build something in a short period of time and get something off the ground as quickly as possible. Right? So I think there's a lot of cool opportunities right now, even if you don't have the capital. I don't think that's really a constraint anymore today.
Yeah, I think definitely encourage everyone who's listening out there. Really recommend that you join a Wildcats competition or challenge and get your ideas, submit those, get those out. We actually are really blessed to also have someone from Pomelo, Kat Nolan, who's actually works with David, who's one of our judges for My Summer Startup, which is the competition in region that we're running right now. And just really hope that everyone can throw their ideas out there and go through our class and actually just try things out, put together a business plan, put together a pitch, really learn a little bit through our master class and be able to have great mentors and even have a chance at winning some seed funding. So with that, David, any last thoughts? It's such a blessing to be able to have you join us and really great insights today. I want to thank you for your time here.
I love what you guys are doing with promoting entrepreneurship and getting people to think creatively and out of the box. I think it's incredible. I hope more of your community really takes that first step, because I think you guys have a great platform.
Thanks so much. All right, I think that's a wrap. Have a good one.
Great, thank you.